should I say it now? Open meeting law and videotape meetings. If your meeting is videotaped, the open meeting law requires you to advise open session meeting attendees as follows. Open session public meetings are subject to being recorded. Your image and voice may be recorded. Per the open meeting law, Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20E. Thanks, Raj. Okay, so on the agenda for this meeting, we're just going to go over the policies, unless something urgent came up in the meantime that you need us to know about or sign off on.
No.
Okay, good.
Do you want us just to accept those minutes? You have 2 sets of minutes.
Two
that you
sets of
sent
minutes.
us.
Do you want to do that first?
Yeah, I can do that if you guys are okay with
Yep.
that.
Make a motion to accept both sets of minutes.
Okay, it was for April 27th and May 3rd, I
Third,
think.
yeah.
And accept
Okay.
them as written.
And I will second that.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
That way we don't have to go
Accepted.
back to those.
Okay, great. All right,
Is this all of the windows from Accrual?
This is all of Article 5 or Section 5 leave benefits. Yeah.
okay. So we can start with doing were we gonna start at the V, 5, leave benefits?
Okay.
Page
So
3.
Right where she,
29, right here.
it was helpful to actually print out a clean
Okay.
version of this because it helps see where you might have like editing issues.
Right,
So
right.
I did. I added after the word 20 in the second line, I added the number 20 in parentheses just to keep it consistent. So regularly working 20 or more hours a week. Then-
Where, which one?
Oh, I'm sorry. Vacation entitlement number 1.
Okay, I'm not that far yet on
Oh.
vacation entitlement. I
Oh.
just wanted to, I just wanted to check on where it says 5, leave benefits,
Yep.
vacation, personal, sick time. On the last part of it, on a prorated basis, based on their regularly scheduled work week. Do we want to say based on their regularly scheduled work week hours, or just leave it work week? Are you comfortable with that?
Hours. I like hours. I want
Yeah,
everything hours.
Right.
Because
Based
then
on
you
their
can-
regularly scheduled work week hours,
Yep.
was what I was thinking, okay.
Yep.
Because then you'll be
And then
back.
paid holidays, we
usually.
went over, we added Juneteenth, and
Yeah, that's it.
took off the Friday.
Yeah.
Yep, that looked good to me, if you guys, if everybody was okay with that. Now, here we go, sorry about that, Margaret.
Oh, no, 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 that's
Vacation
good.
entitlement, yep.
So I had, in the red line version, we had put something about holiday overtime, and it's blank. Right above unless, right near the end of the A, paid holidays. Holiday overtime.
We have on occasion had to have people come in on holidays. It's usually a bigger issue for either
Highway?
Thanksgiving or Christmas,
Oh,
New
yeah.
Year's, because it's usually snow.
Let me just look,
I mean, the others
holiday,
have contracts. but-
holiday overtime. Where's our holidays? 18. Holidays. Oh. Okay, benefit eligible, that's not overtime. In no case shall any employee receive more than 8 hours of holiday pay. No. Where's yours? Okay.
We thought we, had something a little extra for the highway department.
Do they get on the highway Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's? Is it double time if they're called in on that holiday? Those 3 specific holidays.
Personnel committee has endorsed, the highway department superintendent determines that an employee called into work between 7 and 3 p.m. on Christmas or any other double-time holiday shall be entitled to regular pay for the holiday in addition to double time, so actually triple time.
Whoa.
So where's that?
That was an agreement between the Board of Selectmen and Highway.
But it's not in the policies?
I wasn't aware of that. It's from,
Yeah, that was before when they were talking to Go Union.
So we need to add that to the policy, or how do we do that? I mean, does that need to, I mean.
it can't continue to just be an agreement, so we're gonna have to do.
But it's only for Christmas.
It's not for Thanksgiving.
Can we do it as an
Or it says
appendix?
any other
And,
double-time
and you
holiday.
we can speak to, in that, in the holiday piece, holiday overtime, see appendix such and such.
Yeah, let's do that.
And that way, it's not like out front of everybody that highways,
Yeah.
but usually they're the only ones that would have to come in on those dates anyway.
It's
Right.
true.
True, but
I mean, if there was some, other unforeseen thing, there could be an occasional
Right,
other
right,
employee who would have to come
right.
in, but,
Right,
I mean, normally it's not more than double time on
Yeah.
the holidays, so. All right,
well,
let's,
June, thank God you have
Yeah.
that, and that way you can give Margaret a copy of that to make an appendix out of it.
Yeah.
okay, so we'll create an appendix there for that.
Okay, great.
now,
But the question is are there any holidays per se that you would say are either time and a half, or are they all double time, or?
well, after 40, it would be time and a half.
Yeah, so in a
So
regular,
those 3 holidays are the only time. So at 12:01, they get knocked off at double time. This is how we used to do it when I worked at Iron Mountain. If you came in on a holiday, you got double time until 12:01. Because now you're in the following day.
mhm.
So if it was the day after Christmas,
Yeah.
day after Thanksgiving,
Hospitals don't pay,
yeah.
yeah. No, they get, there's a 24-hour period for which holiday pay is paid, time and one half, but we've never paid double time or anything like that.
No, I
Yeah.
understand that, but there's got to be a cutoff
double.
point.
For any holiday.
Yes,
Expired.
and that's pretty, I think that's pretty standard in the municipalities.
But what I'm saying is,
Double time for
how
holidays.
we
Okay.
write this, I mean, is it from your regular normal hours, say 7 to midnight, or is it 7 to 3? That's the only thing, because the way I look at it, if they got called in at 12:01 on Christmas Day, they're on double time until 12:01.
Yeah, there's gotta be like a 24
24
hour.
hour, I want to make sure that everybody understands that part.
So this one here is saying between 7 and 3, they get.
That's what I'm saying, that's
Okay,
what
good. All
confused.
right. Oh, good, all
That's
right.
pretty much what
So
it
it does stipulate what time.
Just those hours?
Mhm.
Okay,
Otherwise, it's double time.
And
okay.
June, you said police are double and so are fire, correct? So,
Uh-huh.
But
okay.
that would be in their
Holidays.
CBAs,
Right,
right?
but I just want it, I know it's in their agreement, but it'd just be nice if we could keep it the same
Yeah,
for
yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because of, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
You know,
All right,
I think highway should be the same.
So I'm just actually gonna put a little comment here, just so I know for, let's see, the comment. Okay, so that's gonna be double time for
Because
holidays.
it turned into a nightmare when it also then hit overtime.
For you.
Because one year it was just a nightmare because it was like a continuous, nonstop.
Yeah, we,
Then it was, okay, now you're over the 40, so now how do you do it?
Right, but I thought you can't use overtime for purposes of calculating, get over 40 hours to get overtime.
Anything over 40 hours
I
is
thought-
overtime.
In a pay period.
But they
Right,
worked it, so it was a constant, they were working it all week as a 40.
okay.
And then I want to say it fell on a Saturday and a Sunday is how it worked or something.
One
So
year,
they
yeah.
had like
So-
snowstorm all week
Okay,
into Saturday,
Yeah.
into Sunday, which I think it was Sunday was the holiday.
yeah,
So
And
then it's
we
like,
had-
how much is overtime, and then when does holiday double, triple time?
right,
equal?
okay.
So
So
it
it's
was
all
just-
worked hours, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
okay.
is.
was.
And Saturday and
All right.
Sunday are the end of that single work
Great,
week.
okay,
So,
yeah.
okay.
It was just a nightmare.
I think
So
it was
I will,
250.
I'll need, if you want to
Yeah.
give me a copy of that, I can draft up something.
I think it was the year 2015. I think that's all I did.
14 to 15, oh
Yeah.
my word. That was something.
And snow, it's every other day.
Sometimes I wonder if we're ever going to see that again.
No,
I don't
Just when
know.
we don't think we have something like that, it's like, what?
I think I'm safe, we're safe enough saying that now though, right? It's May 18th. Okay. All right, holiday overtime. I made a note. Okay, so.
So is that the one that we were working on was holiday? It doesn't say anything in there about overtime, right?
no,
No.
currently, no.
Because I want to say, I thought at some point in time, there was discussion about it, and it was pretty much that whenever possible, the holiday would be taken as time off versus, because that had come up once too. So.
I'm lost on that one, June.
We had an instant where if the holiday, trying to think on how it worked. It may have been that it happened on a Friday, and they only worked Monday through Thursday. And they actually worked Monday through Thursday. So the thought was is that they should get overtime for the holiday because they had already worked the 40 hours Monday through Thursday. The holiday was on a Friday, but they weren't scheduled to work on Friday. My thought was is that they had to take that holiday, which is on a Friday, and either use that Thursday or the following Monday. So it had to be actually taken off versus it being paid as overtime or
I see,
double
I
pay.
see,
Oh,
I
I-
see. Okay. Yeah, but, so they didn't have to come in on the holiday.
Right,
So it was just a
Because
regular
they-
holiday.
They weren't scheduled for Friday. So if they normally work Monday through Thursday.
Yeah,
So they do 10-hour days.
I
Yeah.
see, okay,
The holiday was,
I see.
it was either on a Friday or it was on a Saturday, so it would be taken on a Friday. But since they don't normally work that Friday, the
Yes.
thought was is that they already put in the 40 hours, so that means that they should get paid the 8 hours for the holiday. And that's not the way it's budgeted.
I
No.
see,
So it
okay.
should actually, I thought at one point, and I thought it was in the old ones, but I don't see it, that
think-
whenever it's possible, they need to take it as an actual
Day off.
floater holiday or a holiday either the Thursday before.
So I think that's addressed here
that
where
make
it says that following a Saturday will be observed on the employee's last regular workday immediately prior to the holiday, and then Sunday observed on the employee's next regular workday immediately following the holiday. At least that closes
right,
the
yep,
gap.
yep.
Because that
That's good. Okay.
was an issue.
I hope that closes the gap. Okay. Where are we at? Okay, so I did have are we on that paragraph number 1 still? Or
Yep,
yet?
yep,
Okay, so where it says part-time employees shall accrue vacation on a prorated basis, I'd love to say again here, based on their regularly scheduled work week hours.
yep.
Okay. There we are. Okay, next up. So, on the, I know we went over this in detail. I was
Yeah.
just talking to Juna, because I was running this little scenario here,
Yeah.
and I was doing the hours calculation.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
in some years, the total number of hours per year doesn't equal 2,080. based on the calendar days, it could be to 2088 or 2096.
Yeah,
And I know this is splitting hairs, but I can just see it happening. If we had a 2096-hour year, an employee could say 2 weeks based on the scheduled hours per year. That means 80.6 hours. So give me an extra half a day off.
oh my God.
I know. I know. I'm thinking too much into it, but
Right,
then just tell me I'm thinking too much into it.
It's,
We could instead say 80 hours for full-time, prorated for part-time. Or we could just leave it as is.
So what I was thinking, and this is just my thought, for the first year only, either they get 0.2 times their usual weekly hours a month, or 1/5, depending on how you want to do it, as they
0.2.
accumulate it. You know how you have down here that employee earns 8 hours of vacation at the end of the first month?
Yeah.
And that's great for a 40-hour person. But I was trying to figure out how we could say that if you normally work 35 hours.
That's what I tried to run here, but I did the percentages.
So the only thing I could think of is if you did it like 0.2 times their hours worked. It came out pretty close to what it should be.
So what's the 0.2?
I don't know, that's just what it came out to.
That's just her math working.
well,
I always do everything by percent, and that's why I put those scenarios here. But if there's a simpler way, see, I created these word problems. If Sue works 35 hours a week and a vacation accrual for a 40-hour week employee equals 40 hours, how much vacation accrual does Sue get?
So like if I just
Doesn't get any
six
There's no
6.5.
vacation.
So it works though only if you work like 5 days a week. If you work 4, then it kind of gets screwy.
Oh,
Or
Yeah, but
3,
it-
'cause
yeah,
you
but
have
it's-
people who work 3 days a week.
Is this all based on
But-
5 days?
so,
But why are we
this
doing?
is not. This is, we
40
have to stay with
divided by
hours.
8
Yeah, I was gonna say,
equals-
so even if they
So-
work 3 hours and you're going, if you said 3 days, even if they work so many hours, that's what we're going by. We're not doing the days. So how does
Right,
that?
and that's what I was trying to figure out, is because normally, if we said 2 weeks, it'd be 2 weeks of what you normally get.
yeah,
But if we're earning it as you're going with, like, with the 8 hours, that's based on 40 hours, 5 days a week.
But
Right.
wouldn't it be the same if somebody worked 40 hours 4 days a week?
right,
Well,
oh, it
no,
would
because
be,
then
yes.
You're not getting 8 hours, you're getting 10 hours if you were to,
That's there, if they decide to do the, so,
but that would
Oh,
mean
I
that
see
they
what
would
you're
get
saying.
more hours.
You're getting more hours.
no, they wouldn't.
No.
They'd accrue the same amount, they just have to use more hours when they take a day off.
No, but the way you're saying it.
So they take 4 10-hour days instead of 5 8-hour days.
But they're not accruing, okay.
Sure they are.
But they're accruing based on hours, yeah.
on hours.
But
But
if
I
you
see
were gonna
what
do
she's
that, then you
saying.
could do it just based on divided by 5.
I see what you're saying.
Whatever their hours are divided by 5, and that's what they would accumulate.
Because if you use the hours at 10
Okay, so
hours,
what are we
you get-
talking about? So if they make, if they're,
This is only the first year. Because we also have to plug something into the computer, payroll computer, that works for every person, is also what we're looking at. Otherwise, we can't do it computerized.
So would this work, June, or would it not work? This thing that I put up top for a first-year employee, just 2 scenarios. One is a 40-hour, one is a 30-hour. The problem that we have with this is that there's a not-to-exceed hours of 80 for full-time employees,
Right.
right, in their first year of employment. So they're accruing 8 hours per month, but the last few months of the year, they cannot accrue anymore
right, because, and
Right, 'cause
because they hit 80.
Right, and the other good thing is that, another way you could put it is, the first 3 months, the first 90 days of their probationary period, they don't accrue.
They don't accrue it usually until they pass probation, and then,
You could do that.
Then do
Okay.
you,
And that would still get you to the 80 with the, minus the 3 months, right?
because also just remember
It
though,
would.
that it depends on when you start working too, as when this,
Right,
It does. I was going to do a scenario for earlier in the year, but the first year of employment, according to this policy, is all based on months of employment.
right.
And then it doesn't, the annual accrual doesn't kick in until the fiscal year following.
Well, that's what I
full
was
year.
gonna ask, because I wrote it down, same with the sick. Is it,
let's
is,
just look at vacation for now.
okay. You don't wanna hear me on the sick piece.
No, sick is fine, but it's different.
Because
It's the
I
same,
was
but it's
trying to
different.
figure out how we got from,
I'll reverse this.
why we changed the amount of days.
So we
Or-
would,
Don't go there yet.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, let's not go there quite.
so here's what we'd have to do then. If we don't want to accrue during the probationary period, we would have to change the language here just to say, an employee will earn 8 hours of vacation leave at the end of the at the end of the probationary period and at the end of each following month, not to exceed a total of 80 hours in the first year of employment.
So what, I'm just throwing that out there. What do you guys think? Do you think we should leave it the way it is and let them accrue during probation, but they can't take it? They
Right,
can't take it
Right.
until
They can't
after
take
that 90 days is over.
yes.
But will our numbers still work, Margaret? if
They
we-
they would still work, because we would just shift those accruals down toward the end of their first year of employment, right?
No,
Right,
because they just wouldn't be able, they'd start accruing it, but they can't use it until after the 90 days. So they'd still
Yeah,
have,
she's
but
saying-
they'd max out at 80. They'd max
Yes.
out. Okay,
So it's
ones
either,
if they
it's
max
either they
out.
accrue at the beginning or they accrue at the end.
and just remember, this is for the first full year of employment. So
Right.
that means they may go possibly 6 months without any
Right, but what if,
additional
right,
until
but what
that
if they come in
second
in
year
December?
when they get 2 weeks.
Either way, they're going to accrue 8 hours a
Right,
month for 10
yeah.
months. For 10 months. So no matter what month they start in, they're going to accrue 8 hours a month for 10 months.
8 hours a month. What if they start in February? They're not gonna accrue 8 hours a month for 10 months?
But
They
it's by
are,
their
because it's by their
anniversary.
it's a
Their
calendar.
calendar year.
Yeah.
Oh, it
It's-
doesn't, what about the fiscal year where you get
That
the,
won't be until their second year, and then they get the 2 weeks at the beginning of July, right?
Right.
okay.
so no matter what date they started,
Yeah, it's just that if somebody starts, like,
Yeah,
there could be
a bigger gap.
there could be a very large gap,
There could
actually.
be. There could be a large gap.
And that's why here, you know how here it said something too about accruing? That first year, you have to allow them to accrue, because otherwise that means they could lose all of that by the end of June, and now they have nothing.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
so how does that work if new employees, like Claire said,
Well, right
hired
now-
in February?
Right now, it doesn't. I don't
Okay.
know how it works on this. This is what we're trying to.
So if they start in February,
Oh, did I save that? I think I did.
but they don't
Should
get
run
the
that.
2 weeks until
July 1st.
they've completed
They wouldn't actually
one
get-
whole year.
So they really wouldn't get a full 2 weeks until December of their following year, right?
Right,
So if they start in February,
February.
Yeah, I'll run a scenario. You want to start in February? It doesn't matter.
right, it doesn't really matter, but there is going to be a section that they may have to go 8 months without accumulating anything more until they get that next 2 weeks. So they may actually go like a year and a half,
Yeah,
right?
they could.
Yeah.
Let's say they started in August. No, yeah, if they start in August, they could end up going almost an entire year.
Yes, without anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
And that might kick in carryover.
so why wouldn't they just accrue the 8 hours a month
Forever?
until after they've reached,
The capital, the
till
top,
they get to
80.
5 years? I'm just throwing
Because
some.
if they accrue it, then it would just keep building if they're not using it.
Up to 1.5 times the employee's annual accrual rate.
Because the maximum we can carry, Claire, is 80, right? 80 is the maximum.
Total accrued vacation shall not be in excess of 1.5 times.
So if you
the
normally get
employee's-
80, that means that you can carry over 120.
Right, but then the next year, they gotta use some of that, because if they don't use it,
They lose it.
Yeah.
Because they can only carry over.
right.
Because I know we did have a small issue with this, because when people were granted the time, if they're not here long enough to actually use the vacation time, they could lose their first chunk and not carry it into the second year before they actually got the 2 full weeks. Right?
Yeah.
Now, the payroll system, Harper's, what are they proposing? Are they proposing a weekly accrual, or are they proposing a daily,
So like
a monthly accrual?
We would be punching in, like, let's just go with the 40.
Yeah,
40-hour week, you get 8 hours at the end of the month. They will actually accumulate 8 starting at the end of the first month.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
can
To
program
a
it either way.
maximum of,
yeah, okay,
and then
yeah,
that's,
all right.
but then they also ask, when does it zero back out?
Right, so that's, because some of this stuff says calendar year, some of it says fiscal year, some of it says, so how should we be doing this? Because I did notice, and I don't want to bring up the sick time again, but that's fiscal year. I mean, that's,
Yeah, that just adds, snowballs a little bit more.
right, right, because
Because
one,
it's totally different now, because now we're accumulating it to a max.
right, right,
Versus at the end of June, we carry over whatever isn't used. Versus this is easier for,
is this December carryover, or is this a June
it
carryover?
would be a June carryover,
Vacation,
both.
both, and sick?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
But we can also set it up so it's anniversary date in Harper's.
Right, but I think that it should be the June, if we've got June for sick, I think we should do the June for,
Yeah, but see, in this here, I don't think it starts with June. The only thing, I think it would be better, I think, for Harper's if we do it on anniversary date.
Yeah, but
For everyone, all the time?
it's,
Oh.
then it comes down to, like you said, fiscal, right?
yeah, it just, if you're gonna do the carryover,
Yeah, you'd have to do,
But if you're gonna do the carryover at the fiscal year, then you would have them getting their time the fiscal year versus their anniversary date.
right. So,
So that would be like the first year or two is the ones that you would have to try to figure out how they're not all of a sudden just gonna be left with nothing.
right,
The first year.
Or they
The
lose.
first year is the big, is the
or,
big.
or,
Yeah.
or
Depending on when they start working.
another thing, will this Harper's keep track of every person in
That's the
town?
hope.
That's the hope. With every pay period you get, okay,
But we
you,
have to set it up properly
okay.
to make it accumulate properly. And
Right.
that's the whole thing.
No, I understand
Right.
that
And we're
part.
trying to figure out how to do it the easiest way where everybody is paid differently. Every single
No, every
department is
every
different.
department, yeah, I get you.
So for Harper's, either, I don't, could they do a percentage?
I'm sure they could. Well, Claire, you said you have how many collective bargaining agreements in your system?
19,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's,
but it's all weekly accruals.
okay.
And our payroll system, the payroll system does that for us. It's weekly accrual. So it's based on how many hours you're paid each week. So every group has different like accruals, like people 0 to 5 years has an accrual of .115.
So where does that .115 come from?
.115, it's 39 days divided by the amount of hours. I'm just doing a 40-hour person, but
Yeah.
it is prorated for the, so it's
See, and that's-
39 days divided by, I don't know.
But see, unfortunately, we have to set that up.
Right. Yep.
So that's why we have to be able to give Dennis the exact, what goes into each person's.
Yep. And the nice thing about the accruals is, so if you're a 24-hour person and you work extra hours that week, you accrue additional earn time. It's the whole earn time concept versus vacation, holiday, and sick time
Yeah.
for us. But we do have a sick time accrual for the mass sick time because we're required to,
Yeah.
for our per diems, they're required to earn sick time. So I don't know.
This benefit, this gives first-year employees a benefit that they don't currently have at all.
Right,
At all.
right.
Correct.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, yep.
I'm thinking, is there a way that we could, instead of accruing 8 hours of vacation each month, to spread it out over 12 months? At least then they would have less of a gap, you know? Because
Yeah.
right now we're only going 10 months.
Right,
If we could spread it out over 12 months, it would be less of a gap for those people who are hired earlier. It'd be a significant gap for some people. But it would be.
It's just that either we have to do it like a percentage or a calculation because it has to go into Harper's
Yeah,
for each person. I was trying to figure out a way to do it so that whatever the percentage is or whatever would calculate the right amount. Because otherwise here, I don't know how you would explain it to people, because I mean, it's hard enough for them to understand 2 weeks, 10 days.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, but I mean, because like, and I don't want to jump to 6 times, but like we have people that work
When they set
25
up yours,
hours,
was
4
it
days.
Individual person.
30 hours,
had
4 days.
All their stats on
40 hours, 5
everything.
days, 35,
When you
5.
set up that
40
system,
for
like,
4 days,
say, like you and
20
me.
for 4.
Okay,
So
I'm a
it's-
per
So
diem,
you still
We have
have to
24
base it
hours,
on
you're
hours.
40
It's
hours.
just-
That are
You
21
gotta
for
individually
free.
put that in when you first started?
Yeah, it's gonna really be hours.
yeah,
It
it's very
has
easy.
to.
Days.
Oh, okay,
Be
but
I'm just
based
saying,
somehow on hours.
then
but-
why, when they put it in that system?
So anybody 1 to 5 years gets an accrual
But it
of
should be based on
0.131.
prorated. for
Yeah.
them,
Anybody 5
not-
to 10 years gets an accrual rate of
I work
point.
40 hours, 5 days a week, so I would be 8 per day. But the next person would be, has 40 hours, but they work 4 days, 10 hours. So if we say you earn 1 day, that would be 10 for them, 8 for me, but they get more than I would.
That's
Yeah.
what-
Right,
the
no,
same thing.
that's why you want.
That's why it's gotta be
And I
actually just
think in
hours.
the old
Hours.
one, we had worked it so that it was divided by 5. It didn't matter how many days you actually worked, your benefits were based on 5 days.
I see.
Which would prorate it, so that like if you took 25 hours and divided it, well,
You would get more at a pro rate.
and that's, depends on how you did it.
I thought I brought that.
And that was the big problem, is that like when we were doing the sick pay at 10 days,
Yes, that's what I'm
I
saying.
would only get X amount with somebody who only worked 4 days, but 10 hours a day.
Well, that's
got
what
more
I'm-
than
yeah.
I.
Yeah, it can't
Which
be,
is
No, it's
fine,
gotta
but it's
be,
that whole, how do you calculate it?
can't be anything to do with days.
Has to
because
do-
that's
It
yeah.
just-
has to
giving
be
you
based on hours.
hours.
So I was trying to figure out
Based
how
on
you could
hours
do it,
paid.
because like if you took 35 hours and multiplied it by 0.2, depending on how many hours a week you've got, it would come out. And that's what I was trying to make it so it worked for everybody.
So,
I don't know how to get around the first year of employment thing on vacation. There are gonna be gaps, there are gonna be small gaps, there are gonna be big gaps. But they're all going to accrue 80 hours in the first year of employment.
right,
So if they started with yours
Yep.
Am I walking to a meeting?
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I called up to get a birth certificate, and they said to come in between 7 and 9.
Okay, so that's
All the way down the hall.
Yep, all the way down the hall, the town clerk's office. So you must have walked by coming in here.
Right
So-
when you come up the stairs.
First one on the left.
The first office on your left. They should
Thank
be
you.
in anytime.
I apologize for...
No problem.
We like the distraction.
Giving directions is easy compared to this. All right.
2 weeks.
So,
So
like
I
you,
guess if you look at it based on what you did, so the first year you accumulate it. And by March, you have the full 80-hour accumulation, which is equivalent to 2
This is for a May
weeks.
1st hire. Mhm.
So now,
If you're a February 1st hire, you have the entire accumulation by December 1st. And you're going to go 6 months without any further accumulations until the fiscal year starts.
and that's
Or
what
7
I'm
months.
saying, is if you do
Right.
it based on fiscal year, then they would get brand new 80 hours starting every July.
Yep,
So they're not accumulating it anymore.
right.
So that's a little different than what's in Harper's. So that's what I'm saying, is the first year, if we don't continue it,
Yeah.
it's
But
gonna
they-
be, it's gonna have to be a manual thing that Dennis is gonna have to enter every year.
Yeah.
so what you're saying is that first year employee will get 80 on anniversary date. So automatically you get another 80 the following year,
For which way?
the way you just said it. Don't let me explain it.
Well, we were talking fiscal year.
That's what I'm saying. So like,
So that would mean that
he would get nothing
for,
till the following anniversary.
Till the following July 1.
Yeah,
not
that's
anniversary, July 1.
July 1, our budget date.
Yeah,
That's gonna be confusing
but then it's
because
a matter of, do they get, on the 5th year, do they get
they're
the
max.
3rd week, July 1, or their anniversary date?
It should be July 1. I think all of these
So it
are
would
based
be
on at the-
July 1 before their 5th year, or after their 5th year?
after 5 years of
After
their
continuous
5th
service.
year.
So it'd be on their 6th year.
6th year.
Yeah, shall accrue for each year completed in accordance with the following plan. So it would be at the beginning of the fiscal year of their 6th year. Oh, God. Each year.
I mean, I don't care, just as long as it's there, it's in writing, and when everybody is the same.
I know Harper's has the ability to calculate the first year differently because they're already doing it for
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
CBA. I don't know if it's police or fire.
Yeah.
They have the ability to do it. It's just, this is an equity issue. This is, and pick your month, you get hired.
Right.
Well,
You know, it's better than they're getting now.
It is.
They're not getting anything right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that this isn't easy to change, but in 5 years, if we find out it's really not working, is it gonna be the end of the world?
The way I look at it is,
It's just gotta be written.
Right.
yeah, an employee coming in on August 1st, like right after the start of the
Yeah.
fiscal year, that's going to have a really big gap at the end. They're still accruing 8 hours a month, just like any other employee who starts in, February, March, April, whatever. So they're accruing equally each month. It's just the gap at the end.
Because at the end of their first year, now they have to wait from August, when they finally have their 80 hours, for their first year.
Yeah.
They have to wait a whole nother,
Yep.
9 months?
Yep.
10 months.
Yeah.
10 months
They could
before
be
they get
waiting
any
11
more. So
months.
they've pretty much got to go the first year because they started in August.
Mm-hmm.
Because they won't get anything until the following, after their full first year.
There's probably a way that you could accrue differently based on the month of hire, but that would be so confusing for Harper's. You know what I mean? Like you could have an employee hired in, say September could accrue maybe 4 hours a month. No, they couldn't. Yes, they could.
I think, like you said, for the first year, either Dennis is gonna have to do it in manually.
Yeah, he is.
Well, we can calculate it the first year. It's gonna be that second
We did a.
switch over that's gonna be, because they won't be entitled to another 2 weeks until the following July.
I think something like that, like,
Right.
I don't know, what do you think? It's gonna have to be done manual.
Yeah, but see,
Especially,
this is what we're trying to avoid
Right,
now.
right.
I understand
yeah.
that part,
Oh,
but-
absolutely.
Luckily, we don't have 300 employees.
I would much prefer, I'm trying to think, if I was a new employee accruing this way, would I prefer to have 8 hours accrue for 10 months and have potentially have a big gap afterwards? Or have this calculation where you have fewer hours accrued each month that's spread out so that by July, it's kind of prorated on a monthly basis. You have fewer hours accrued per month and have no gap. I would,
So how many, you figure out how, when they're hired, to how many months it
Yeah.
is until July,
yeah,
and then divide it up.
yes.
That's what I'm hearing you say,
Divide,
right?
yes, divide the 80 hours by that entire period of time until that following
I
July.
think an
So I'm
employee
gonna
would
run
like
this.
it that way, Margaret.
Which
That
one?
almost sounds better.
Yeah.
So if you're
Yeah,
Yeah,
hired
instead of waiting for the fiscal year, at least they're
All right,
getting.
let's see what we.
But
let's
then the
see.
question is, that works pretty cool if you start in August. But what if I start April 1st?
You're still, you're getting something. You're not getting it all.
Right, but what I'm saying is if I start April 1st, no, let's do, right?
Okay, so-
April, May, June, yeah. So if I start April 1st,
Mm-hmm,
even though I'm on probation for 90 days,
yeah.
I would get 888, and now we're on July 1st. So does that mean that I would just continue into the year
Can you move those?
gathering 8, or do I lose it at the end of the fiscal year and can't carry that over?
I think the,
Here, so here's a scenario. So if an employee is hired on February 1st, they have 16 months to go before July 1st. If they accrued 5 hours a month over those 16 months, it would equal 80 hours. And I wondered if, depending on the month of hire, if these new employees could accrue differently. I just don't know which one is more equitable.
the way you just did it is better, I think, personally, from somebody coming in.
So we'd have to explain this in writing.
What happens if you're hired, okay,
Yeah,
I'm getting it, if somebody's hired in June?
yeah.
Do they get
Yes,
that?
yes, okay, so we'll do, I have to put
Do
this
they get
all
that
down.
8 hours?
so yeah, they'd get 8 hours.
Yeah.
And then,
Then,
as of July 1st, they'd get,
They'd still be in their first year of
That's right,
employment, so
'cause-
they'd have to go a ton of time.
yep.
Or
So
do we
then-
do it that it's 8 hours a month until July 1st, and then they're given the 2 weeks?
That means they accrue a lot more in their first
But they
year.
have to use it, because that's what we did to.
Yeah, but you-
Oh.
So like if I
No
start
carryover.
in April,
Mhm.
I would have 24 hours
Yeah,
by the
8
end of
times
June.
3.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
my probation though wouldn't give it to me, so.
well, that's what I'm saying. I was just saying
But
that,
as
the way it's
starting July
written.
1, then you get two weeks of vacation. The only problem is if it's a new person, then technically they could use all their vacation time and say, see you later.
Huh.
But I mean, that would work the easiest so that you're almost accruing it until you hit July 1 and then you get your 2 weeks.
But like you just said, scenario probation period, what do you do? Is that person allowed to move them up because
See,
he's
I would
still
say
on a
no,
probation?
but I don't know.
You know, I think just that alone tells us that maybe those 3 months that Margaret has that are written down that they're not accruing, maybe that should be the probationary period. They don't accrue during probationary period. And then,
Oh, yeah.
we kind of avoid that.
The only problem is, well, that's a sick time issue.
Don't go there.
No.
No, I'm just, when you say that, if you take the probationary time and they don't accrue anything, then they don't say to us,
Right.
see you later.
Because technically, they're entitled to get their vacation time that they've accrued at the time they leave.
A person hired on June 1st makes out actually pretty good. But, all right, well,
Because that's why with the old policy, it was your first year
Well-
anniversary, then you got your first week. And that's why. So it was pretty much you were accumulating it, but you can't use it. But I mean, when you go into a real job,
yeah.
do they usually give you 2 weeks right up front?
No. Usually, well,
I don't know.
Ours, we accrue on a weekly basis, like I said.
Yeah.
You start accruing the day you walk in the door.
But see, I take hospital stuff more like emergency, like police, fire, because it's one of those where you just gotta work whether you like it or not.
Right. Just trying to figure out like a weekly way to, like, if you took the 14 days times 8 hours equals 112 hours. And you divide that by 52, that's 2.1538 hours a week. And if you divide that by 40 hours, it's 0.0538 per hour paid, the accrual would be. So it would be, so at 0.0538 times 40 hours a week, they'd accrue 2.152 hours per week times 52, 112 hours for the year.
So that's more than what they get now. But that's across the board.
That's the 2 weeks. That's the 2 weeks. And then, you know,
Well, no, you just said 112 hours.
yeah, 112 hours is
Is
14
versus
days
80.
times 8 hours. Right? Is that what we're going by, the 14 days, or no?
Well,
So.
no, because you're saying 112 hours versus 80 hours.
So,
Oh, yes, okay. So it would be, so it really wouldn't be, it would be the 80 hours. So that's what I need to figure out, okay. I'm thinking 14 days, that's why I was thinking so.
You know,
So it's 80 hours instead of 112, so it's 80 hours, 2 weeks.
and that's
So
only
if I do the
40
80 hours, 80 divided by 52 equals, so they'd accrue 1.538.
What do other towns do?
how,
well, let's,
they probably just do a manual and keep track of it themselves. You'd have
That's
to.
not what we've been being told, so.
No,
No, they can't do it manual, but there are other towns that have to do this.
of course, everybody has new employees, right?
no, but
They can't do it manual because it's not working. I mean, we're not getting it
No.
accrued and all
Well,
that.
no, but I don't know if other towns have this many different, I mean, there's like not even 1 or 2 departments that are the same.
Well, maybe that's something we need to think about.
Employee benefits, I just want to check this.
So it's, they'd accrue 0.03846 per hour paid for the week. So 0.03846 times 40 hours is 1.538 for a week, times 52 weeks is your 80 hours. And also for the part-timer, say a 20-hour person. Do we have any 20-hour people?
Mhm.
We do, okay.
We have a 21 hour.
21 times
How'd you come up with?
03846 equals, their weekly accrual would be 0.80766 times 52. So they'd accrue 42 hours for the year.
So
That would be
would that only
2
go
weeks
for
of
the first
vacation.
year, or would that be a continuous? No, that would only have to be for the first year, right?
That would be until their accrual changes after their after they hit 5 years.
No, it would have to be after, because we wouldn't do that every,
After they hit 1 year, because then they get 2 weeks. for
This
that
would be
one.
put in the minute they start
right. but
on
that
a
would
weekly
be-
accrual, and that wouldn't change until they hit after 5 years. On their 5-year anniversary, that would change. So it'd be a weekly accrual that came in every single week. And
there'd be no
it's the
fiscal year.
accrual is based on how many hours they're paid for the week.
So that would be based on their anniversary date, not on fiscal year.
So they
Um,
get a weekly accrual, but it would change on their anniversary date after they hit the 5-year
Right.
mark. That it would go up to the 3 weeks accrual.
All right, so it's an accrual system based on anniversary date.
That's what that sounded like, yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's a weekly accrual, but I don't know, can Harper's do a weekly accrual? So for anybody 1 to 5 years of service or of continuous service, they get an accrual of 0.03846 per each hour
And
paid.
how did you figure that again? I'm sorry, Claire.
No, that's fine, because I had to do it several times. So the 0.08346.
Oh, 0.08346.
Yep. Times, say they're a 40-hour person, times 40 hours equals, what did it come to?
But how did you, how did you,
Oh, sorry, I'll do that.
so, like, how did you come to that
Point
point?
oh. She wants to
Okay.
know how you
So,
get to
how did I
0.6.
come to, okay,
The
so I'll start,
0.08.
I'll back it out the other way. 80 hours
Yep,
divided by 52 is 1.538. Is that what you got?
yep. So if we take.
So 1.538 divided by 40 hours is 0.03846.
Oh, 03846?
Yeah,
Oh.
0.03846, 0.03846, sorry.
Okay.
So that 0.03846, so even if you did that for a 30-hour person, so that would be a weekly accrual based on hours paid. So if they're a 30-hour person and
You'll
30
multiply
hours
that
times
0.7.
0.03846
Oh.
equals 1.1538 a week they'll accrue times 52 weeks. They'll accrue 60 hours of.
Uh-huh.
So we'd have to still do the calculation though, based on every individual.
So it'd be based on their date of hire. So their date of hire should run off of, so after 5 years, so that 0.3846 is only the accrual for years 1 through 5. At 5 years, the amount's going to be different because it's going to be 3 weeks of vacation. So to try and figure that one out, so it's
She needs to just make you
It's
a whole page.
120 hours, right?
Divided by 50.
Divided by 52, yep, is 2.307, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, it
And
stays
then,
the same. You don't have to change that number.
then divided by
Or did I just?
40 equals So that one, that accrual, the accrual for the 5 years and up would be .05769. Or you could even make it 057, because all of them are just a teeny weeny bit off, because they're not perfect, they're all. So that would be the 5-year accrual, anybody over 5 years, 5 to 10.
So how do you put that in writing?
I don't think we have to put that in writing.
So it'd be
What we have to put in writing is we'd have to say, on the anniversary date, on the first anniversary following the employee's date of hire, vacation leave shall accrue. Oh, we'd have to make sure that all the accruals are weekly now, you said, right? You're
Right.
doing weekly.
Right.
Yeah, and no, pretty much it stays that you accumulate that every single week
Right.
Okay.
until the 5th year.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did it right till the 5th.
Yeah, okay, so on
No, no.
the first anniversary, okay, I'm
So
not doing the
first
first year.
anniversary, yeah.
On the,
no,
on the, on the anniversary, on the anniversary date, yeah, on the first anniversary of the employee's date of hire, through the 5th year of continuous service, vacation leave shall accrue.
No, because it starts from the date you're first paid. Your first weeks of paid,
Oh, you
you're
mean
gonna start accumulating your time.
from your
Right.
date of hire?
Right.
Oh, that's easier then.
Right.
Even easier.
Right, and then you
Right
don't
up
have to
until
figure
your
out all
5th
this
year.
other stuff.
So you're
Okay.
you're using the same formula.
Good.
200.
All right.
But you can't
We
put
have to
any,
change, we have to
So-
change how this
you
is
can't put
worded.
anything in there that says days, right? You have to put hours.
Yeah.
Right, yep, yep.
As
Yes.
long as we
Yeah,
put
because I think it's actually the same
hours.
.03846, I think is the same no matter what your hours are.
So, and we also
Isn't
have to delete.
That's right, yep,
It-
Yep.
It doesn't matter, you just throw in then a 60 hours or 40 hours or whatever, and it works.
So
Okay.
for instance,
Oh.
so years 1 through 5, you would accrue at the rate of .03846
Per week.
per hours,
Oh,
Per
per
Yeah.
hours paid.
It's per week.
So your accrual, your accrued hours are .03846 hours per hour paid. So if you're paid 40 hours, you're gonna accrue 2.1538 hours every single week. And if you do that up by 52 weeks, it comes to the 80 hours.
You're saying the same thing, both of you.
Yeah.
It is, the only.
But
thing
you
is
just
that
can't
you're
use
getting-
weeks, you have to use hours. Because if you throw in the weeks, then people are gonna get confused, in my opinion.
So this way here, if you're working a 40-hour work week, you're gonna
Accrue.
accumulate it a little bit slower. Because the first month, you're only getting 6 hours, if it's based on 4 weeks. Versus
What's
8 hours.
versus 4 weeks? What do you mean?
So because right now, the way we were looking at it was we were giving a 40-hour person 8 hours a month, up to. Where if you use this calculation, you're actually getting like 6.15 hours every 4 weeks.
Yeah, because that would be the whole 12.
Right.
Because when I did
Because
the.
it's over 12
Yeah.
months, not 10 months like
Right.
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
Yeah,
So you're accumulating it your first year a little bit slower.
yeah.
So-
Well, that's not a bad thing because they weren't accumulating anything before, right?
No, it's not. The only problem is are you going to get people who say, well, I want 2 weeks vacation? Where here, you've got to wait a whole year to actually get that
Get
80
it.
hours. Because here, you're only getting 6 hours per month-ish, every 4 weeks.
Right, but, like even,
But technically, the first 3 months, you can't use it anyway. Because you have to go through your 90-day probation
right,
first.
right,
So at the end of your 90-day probation, you'd have about 18 hours.
right. Right, but it's still gonna accrue, so even if you, no matter what, they're still getting 80 hours per year,
Yes,
no matter what.
yes.
I don't know,
Ish, give or take a few, yeah.
well,
it's totally up to you guys, but I can certainly, I did it out for 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years, and you can see how the accrual rate, so and that's the accrual rate, or the hours accrued per hour paid, is what that is. And it comes to the 2 weeks, the 3 weeks, the 4 weeks, and the 5 weeks. But I don't know if you want to move towards that. I mean, it was just a suggestion.
So the
If you-
total accrual per week of a 40-hour per week employee in years, from data hire through year 5,
Yep,
would be what? The hourly
6 point
accrual?
something,
I mean,
right?
not the hourly accrual, the weekly accrual would be what?
it'd be 0.03846 times 40.
Okay, so it's 1.538 hours per 40-hour a week.
Yep,
Yes.
yep. And if you do that times 52 weeks, you can see that it's the 80 hours.
Okay.
Now, the only thing you'd have to think about is what if they don't use it all? Then how much can you accumulate at any one time may come into effect? Or are they just allowed to carry it?
I don't know, I think you could still probably use the 1.5 times the employee's annual accrual rate, because it's all coming out to 2 weeks, right? 2
Right.
weeks, 3 weeks, 4
Yep.
weeks, 5 weeks.
Yep, yep.
So you could still do 1.5, I would imagine. I don't know, I don't know. We should be having these meetings in the morning.
I know, sorry.
I know.
So, no, okay, so,
No, but
do you want to do that?
that makes sense. But what do we, do you take that to Dennis now and present that to him? And see what he says? I mean, I feel like you keep saying he has
So-
to put it in there.
Well, he's in charge of payroll per se, but Harper's will actually set this up so that it works.
We're gonna need, we're
Okay.
gonna need
And you can do the
everybody's-
same thing with sick time, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think actually when I was playing with it, that's kind of the way I was trying to figure it out.
They both come
So
out to
it's
the
all gonna
same,
be
right,
on,
when you
it's all gonna be on
calculate it?
anniversary date, so
Both.
we'll have to have
Yeah.
everyone in
You can
individually.
do them on a weekly basis.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, when
Yeah.
you come to your sick time,
Yeah.
The
instead of
only
getting,
thing that's gonna be weird
nobody
is how
should
do
get
we
80
bring
hours of sick
everybody
time.
Well-
to this?
Why do we go up from 10 to 12 days?
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mhm.
Wait a minute, what's your, wait a minute, your, two conversations. Let's see
Sorry,
what-
I'm sorry. So,
If we were to bring this in as this, and this seems to make sense, the question is how do we make it, implement it now with everybody who's already been here?
so what, did they get it up front already?
On fiscal year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's used to getting it up front and having it right.
Most employees.
Most of them, yes, and you have to use it by the end of the year so you don't lose anything.
So they get their hours July 1st.
Yeah.
Because remember, before, you had to work a full year before you got a week off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
you had to, on your second year, you got 2 weeks.
So July 1st, everybody basically says, okay, tomorrow's a personal
And
day.
then some departments gave it July 1st, others gave it the anniversary date, but yeah.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
So how would you make my pay work for that?
What's your hire date?
May 23rd of '88.
So on July 1st. So someone like June, she's not getting everything up front. It would start accruing on a weekly basis.
Right.
So if she
Right.
wanted to take a summer vacation
Right.
and she had carried nothing over
Right.
from this year.
Right. So you probably got to give at least, probably a year's notice
Yeah.
to people. I see what you're saying. I didn't even think of that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you would, because I would say this would have to be based on anniversary. So either you plug in a number in that first year would have to be a grace period as far as people not losing their stuff.
Right, right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
Which would
yes.
I don't know
Yeah,
how long it would
yeah.
take to work out all the
Yeah.
bugs
Well, could
on
you
it,
do,
but
yeah, do a grace period
I
for
would say
those?
for
And, well,
those grandfathered.
and if you
you know what I
could think
mean?
of how many would actually be grandfathered?
Well, I mean, everybody as of today,
Right, but
we would have to,
you still have some that
Implement
haven't
them.
done a whole year already.
that is true,
But I see what you're
but
saying.
there's
that
only a few. There's
People
only
that
a
been here
handful.
10+ years, wow.
They're waiting for July 1st because
Yeah.
big time.
Some of us don't even pay attention anymore because we just lose it anyway, so.
So it's interesting, because I accrue monthly, you know,
Yes.
on my contract, I accrue monthly. I don't
Yeah.
have, you know,
Right.
I don't get a lump sum up front.
Right,
So,
and the problem with getting the lump sum up front is, so.
But again, remember, we're not, right now, you're not getting a lump sum up front. You have to work a full year before you
then-
get a week.
that's true.
And then you have to work a second year to
Right,
get 2 weeks.
but, so, okay,
So for me, I've had to work a whole year
So-
before I get any time.
so,
So if I'm new coming in,
Claire,
I'm getting.
Claire Pond works for the town of Berlin, and she's been here 20 years. And on July 1st, she gets the 5 weeks.
Oh, okay, so 21 years, yep.
Yeah,
5 weeks.
21 years. She
And on
gets
August 1st,
fi-
she decides to leave.
Right, exactly.
So it's a
She's
financial-
worked that year before to get that. So we're not getting it before we've worked it. We have to work it right now and then you get it.
But it's still, but I think Claire's saying it's time on the books. No matter what, it's time
Right.
on the books.
It
So
is.
Yeah, so it's the,
But you're working it before you get it right now. So it's not like the few hires that we've had come in, they get 2 weeks.
Right.
They haven't had to work for it.
Right.
It's just theirs.
Right.
Versus.
Well, that's why I kind of like the weekly accrual because,
And that
Yeah.
works, yeah.
yeah, but how does it, like you said, impact
Because
those
like, I feel
people
bad,
that?
but like Amy had to work a whole year before she got a week off.
Right, I
And
know.
that's where she's
I-
working still.
Exactly,
Because that's what everybody
right,
is
right,
getting, because you have to
right,
work it before you get it here.
right,
Versus this would be,
Yeah.
okay, wherever you are is where you plug in your number and then you start at your anniversary date getting
mm-hmm,
this,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, I mean, I think as an employee, I'd be a lot happier to see this coming in. But how do you, help the, like, for Amy, it might help her. Because now it's not working the year to get my vacation.
Right, right.
But for you, when you have as many years as you've had, what's it gonna do? Grandfather in those people, figure out who actually has vacation time left.
Have you gone through this in any of your other towns?
not to this extreme, I have to say. Why are things so easy?
There's some kind of policy set up a little
We
bit.
did, yeah, my former towns, I don't believe, well, I could be wrong. It's been a while,
I
but
see what you're saying as far as all of a sudden you get this lump because, and I shouldn't say it this way, but for our auditors at the end of June, I have to have a list of what everybody has
Yeah.
at that point in time, and
Yeah,
I'm trying to
Yeah.
say it differently,
Yeah.
like Sue does, and say, okay, you win the lottery on June 30th, now we owe you a check for your vacation time,
yeah,
because you've earned it, it's yours.
right,
But you don't get that new stuff until
The following year.
July 1. But if you were to win the lottery on June 30th or drop dead, we have to give your family a check for that amount of money. So it's a liability.
It is a
on the
liability.
town's books
Right.
Yes, it
that
is.
we
Yeah.
owe that to people
Yeah.
as of that day.
Yeah.
right. So I think, I don't know, until, maybe we should keep it the way it is and just deal with the new people walking in the door.
yeah.
Unless you can come up with a way that we could roll this out to employees that won't feel that it's such a severe impact on